Alright guys, today is the day where we finally get that juicy Joker's Wild and Season 6 info from Bungie, and this comes in the form of a new Vidoc, which breaks down the bulk of what you're really going to want to know about Joker's Wild and the upcoming season of the Drifter. So today, let's break down all of the new content, the rewards, systems, the new Gambit mode, and a bunch of juicy new gameplay that has been revealed for Season of the Drifter. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this stuff down below in the comment section. If you do enjoy the video and you want to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on all those notifications. But otherwise, let's get straight into the juicy DLC news. So guys, we have an awful lot of stuff to talk about today. Personally, some pretty exciting stuff if you ask me. Very briefly, before we talk about content, it does appear that Bungie have kind of moved away from the name Joker's Wild and are now just sticking with Season of the Drifter. They do, however, have a roadmap that breaks down, the DLC side of the content and then the free content. So we'll talk about that in a minute, but now let's get into the actual juicy stuff that we learn in the Vidoc, and it's pretty epic. So first up, you'll notice some pretty awesome new armor, gear, and weapons that you can see on screen. We'll break down how a lot of these are going to work in just a moment. And yes, it does look like we're getting some kind of armor ornamentation back, which is very exciting stuff. But one of the first things that Bungie talk about would be power surge bounties, and this is going to be a new introduction for Season of the Drifter. Basically what these mean is that if you are still leveling up towards 650, the current maximum power level, then basically the devs say that you can pick these bounties up, complete them, and you're going to be able to get up to 640 power in just a couple of hours time. So if you're someone playing catch up, then obviously this is pretty beneficial. There is some Gambit involved in all of this, and of course power can matter in certain parts of Gambit, especially in some of the new content that we're going to get, so this is going to be really useful stuff. Of course, Bungie talk about the fact that there will be a ton of new Drifter dialogue, lore, and story stuff to experience in the game. This is something we anticipated, but we can see some cool new kind of cutscenes and things like that. Bungie don't really spoil anything further than that, which of course is a good thing. We're going to get even more juicy backstory for the Drifter, which is really cool. But then they talk about one of the new game modes. I say one of the new game modes because yes, there are a couple of new Gambit focus modes, especially Gambit Prime. So Bungie say this is a higher risk and reward version of Gambit. It is essentially the version of Gambit that we've been training for as we've played over the past few months. Some of the juicy rewards we've seen are going to be tied to this activity. So Gambit Prime basically will have one round. And in terms of mechanics, they explain it pretty loosely, but players will be able to drain motes from the enemy team. So obviously that's a bit of a mechanical switch up, but when it comes to the primeval or the boss inside of this Gambit round, they say there will be new raid style mechanics that are actually required in order to do DPS and things like that. So they are introducing some new elements, and with it being a one round kind of match, it will be a fair amount shorter than the normal Gambit mode that we play. And it sounds mechanically like it could be pretty interesting. There will still be invading and all of that stuff, but inside of this mode and Gambit itself, some of the rewards that we'll get in Joker's Wild will actually be pretty beneficial. Now, some of these rewards include brand new armor sets, so we can see some pretty funky looking armor right there. I actually think this stuff looks really cool. We've spoken a lot about ornaments and things like that on armor pieces. We'll talk about how they work in just a little bit, but these armor pieces actually have different kind of set names and bonuses, which are specifically designed for different kind of roles inside of that Gambit mode. So that is really exciting stuff. It's also something we spoke about recently. Now, we don't get a kind of in-depth look at the new perks or anything like that, but on top of the amazing visuals, Bungie do break down the different sets. So firstly, we have the Reaper right here. There's really cool kind of green ornamentation, and this set will be focused on slaying ads and things like that. So obviously the bonuses that it features will actually be designed for this element of Gambit, which is pretty awesome. We can see as well that there are some weapons that appear to have similar skins to what is on the armor too. But then there is the Collector. You have these pretty cool white ornaments. Obviously this one is going to come with bonuses that are focused on collecting motes and depositing motes, things like that. Once again, we don't really have an in-depth idea of what the bonuses will be. Perhaps it could be things like you could carry, 20 motes as opposed to 15 or even more, assuming you're running that set. There is the Invader set, of course, with the kind of red glow. And there is also the Sentry that they showed off, which is basically built to defeat enemies, but especially high-value targets and bosses. So once again, some of these bonuses could be pretty cool. So there will actually be sets designed to do specific roles inside of the Gambit modes, and these sets are actually going to work inside of the new Gambit mode. So they'll work in Gambit Prime, but also in traditional Gambit as well. We'll talk more about how you actually get these rewards in a moment, but in terms of Gambit itself, of course we are getting private matches, and there'll be a few different options there, which is pretty cool. 2 new Gambit maps, so there will be the new Arcadia on Mars. This will drop on week 1, and the devs say on week 2 we'll get Deep 6, which is the new map on Titan. They also talk briefly about some new weapons. We get a look at visuals and stuff like that, but not an in-depth look at bonuses. There is the Spare Rations hand cannon. Certainly looks pretty cool. Obviously, these are pretty similar to some of the other Gambit weapons, but have cool new skins. Although I do think they've done a fairly good job of kind of designing these. There is the Soul Survivor Sniper, as well as the Doomsday grenade launcher, and we see a bunch of other weapons that you'll spot in there, pulse rifle and the scout rifle, I think. And Bungie say, importantly, access to all of this new content begins immediately. But in terms of how we actually acquire some of the gear here, for the armor sets with various different names, we'll actually have to play a different game mode. So we have a game mode called Reckoning. Now this is a purely PvE pinnacle experience, as Bungie say. It's set in the unknown space, so it's linked to the 9, and obviously there's going to be some really cool lore there between the Drifter and the 9. And they describe it as a pretty intense new PvE mode, and essentially to acquire the armor pieces, you'll have to play this mode, and then you can take them back into the other Gambit modes to do upgrades and stuff like that, or at least that's what I took from it. But in terms of Reckoning itself, there will be various different tiers of difficulty to unlock, although these will unlock over time with different requirements. Presumably, we'll have to do this to unlock, all of the rewards. So that sounds pretty cool, guys. It's possible we'll get some really mysterious stuff in there as well, maybe some hidden exotic quests and things like that. But Bungie give us plenty of cool shots right here of these new Guardians with awesome armor sets and stuff. And yeah, on the whole, as far as the Gambit stuff, I think it looks pretty interesting. The new Gambit mode itself is going to be somewhat similar to traditional Gambit, but of course the stakes have changed now that we've got these new rewards, and it appears to be designed as a more intense but also faster experience in general. The PvE Horde mode looks like it's going to be pretty fun. Those are of course just early impressions, we'll have to see how it actually plays out. But of course there will be new pinnacle weapons, it looks like we'll get more details about those very shortly. They do show off the Thorn inside of D2 right here, pretty much like the Thorn always has. Of course we'll have to see if it changes in the sandbox or any stuff like that. Bungie also confirm that the spring event we're going to get is called Revelry. That looks like it's going to be pretty interesting, some cool looking gear and stuff. Now before we break down the roadmap of when all the content's going to drop and how it works, Luke Smith and Bungie did confirm that Penumbra, the final season on this roadmap, is called Season of Opulence, so that's going to be pretty cool. Of course, we've still got a lot of stuff to learn about that one, but Bungie also teased and confirmed that there will be more major content drops after Penumbra of this year, which has been something the community have spoken about a lot. And of course, we're going to have to wait and see exactly how Bungie handle it, the life cycle of Destiny 2, but there is definitely more content to come, which is pretty exciting stuff. So guys, let me know your thoughts about that lot. Obviously quite a bit to break down, but we also have the roadmap stuff. Bungie say for every player of Destiny 2, Season of the Drifter will bring a new offering of rewards and challenges. As ranks in the Crucible, Gambit, and Vanguard activities reset, new pinnacle weapons will beckon Guardians to reach their maximum potential again. The first spring event for Destiny will reveal a familiar forest in bloom with fresh loot, and across the spectrum of action and activity, you'll earn more power, triumphs, lore, and vanity. So Bungie have actually updated the main kind of roadmap calendar for the annual pass, and they say the Allegiance quest, previously forecast as the Joker's Wild weekly quest, will invite you to choose between the Vanguard and the Drifter. Pick a side to progress through the quest from their perspective. This pledge is character-based, so if you have more than one Guardian, you'll be able to play both sides. Choose wisely. They say Invasions of the Nine, once referred to as Xur bounties, will be an exploration of the Nine and their mysterious place in the universe. The path begins with Xur on Friday, March 15th, and essentially we'll pick up a quest from Xur, and they say week over week, we'll pick up new lore and powerful rewards, so we'll have to see how exotics and stuff factor into that. But here they actually give us the roadmap for this season. So March 5th, Gambit Prime and Reckoning Tier 1 will become available. On March 8th, Reckoning Tier 2 will drop. March 12th, we'll have Gambit Prime on Deep 6, but also the arrival of the Thorn quest into Destiny 2, as well as the first Allegiance quest. March 15th begins Invitations of the Nine, and then Gambit Prime on Legion's Folly will begin on March 19th. They'll also introduce Gambit Prime on Emerald Coast on March 26th, but on April 2nd, Gambit Prime will have all maps unlocked, as well as private matches for those modes, and we can see April 9th will be Arc Week, free to all players, and then April 16th to May 6th will be the Revelry event. I'm almost certain they haven't actually broken down what Arc Week is going to be, so that's a pretty interesting one. But guys, I think it looks pretty interesting. Of course, exactly how much content this is going to deliver is something we'll find out, but purely in terms of the rewards, I mean, the armor pieces and stuff look really cool. I think the new experience inside of Gambit could be pretty interesting as well when you combine those rewards with that. Of course, how good the perks are, how good the weapons turn out to be, all that kind of stuff is kind of a mystery, but also in terms of lore, the stuff related to the Nine and the kind of allegiance system, it sounds pretty interesting. So I don't want to give too many more thoughts than that for now because there is a lot of stuff to unpack, but we are going to be getting more news, so be sure to stay tuned right here on the channel. I'm going to let all of this sink in. Nonetheless, I think it looks pretty good, especially for a content drop that does have a lot of Gambit, right? However, I know that this is, an area where there are mixed opinions, so let me know your thoughts about it down below. So there we have it, guys. Like I said, I'll be covering everything else here on the channel, but be sure to let me know what you guys think down below. Does the new content excite you guys? Are there any burning questions or concerns you have about the DLC? and the content that we'll be getting over the next season. Be sure to let me know your thoughts about it down below, but if you've enjoyed this video, a rating is super appreciated. You can turn on notifications if you want to stay up to date. Quick shout out to my sponsor at Now Drinks, who designed some really tasty, healthy alternatives to energy drinks for gamers, and these help improve focus and memory. You can save 10% in the store by following the link down below, but otherwise, thank you for tuning in, guys. As always, I very much appreciate all of the recent support, and I hope you have an awesome day.